So, what's been one of the most rewarding aspects of your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say getting to meet people like you who are in the bundle and people who, reach out every day and say that this work has impacted them in some way. I always feel a little bit like a business doula because I feel like I get to help people birth businesses, and it's
Yeah.
kind of cool. And then I feel like I now get to watch this really nice ripple effect where you all go out and create these incredible businesses that then help other people.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I'm Courtney Cook, founder of Monarch COO, where I help mission-driven entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Each week, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to explore the stories behind their successes and challenges. Whether you're just dreaming of starting a business or already building one, this podcast is here to show you that entrepreneurship is more attainable than it might seem, with insights for every stage of the journey. Let's dive in to today's conversation and see what it takes to build a business. Sam Vander Wielen is an attorney turned entrepreneur and leading legal educator to online business owners. Sam's the founder of Sam Vander Wielen LLC, the go-to contract template shop for online business owners that generates multi-seven-figure revenue annually. As the author of the book, When I Start My Business, I'll Be Happy, and the host of On Your Terms podcast, she cuts through the noise with no fluff legal tips, refreshingly honest marketing strategies, and down to earth business advice to help entrepreneurs grow with confidence. Since 2017, Sam has helped over 350,000 online entrepreneurs legally protect their online businesses, all while navigating the devastating back to back losses of her parents, her own brain surgery, and becoming a caretaker. Sam lives on Long Island, New York, with her husband Ryan, Bernie Doodle Hudson, too many coffee mugs, and a towering stack of TBR fiction. Welcome to the podcast, Sam.
Hey, Courtney, thank you so much for having me.
Will you kick us off by sharing more about your business? Who do you serve, and how long have you been a business owner?
Yeah, sure. So I'm an attorney turned entrepreneur. Basically help you to start your online business. If you want to have some sort of online business, you feel overwhelmed with the steps to take and all of the information out there. I not only break it down and give you the exact playbook, as you know, inside of my main product, the Ultimate Bundle, was giving people all of the legal templates that they need, but also all of the trainings that they need to start their online businesses. So I have over 4,500 customers in the Ultimate Bundle, ranging everything from every variety of coach you can think of, to makers. Now we have people who sell on Etsy, to writers, bloggers, website designers, copywriters, all kinds of people with online businesses. So that's what I do. And then, as you mentioned, I'm the host of the podcast On Your Terms, and I just came out with my first book.
Congrats on that, by the way. What a labor of love that must have been. I can't imagine. When did you start that project?
4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago. It's quite the process. And it probably took me a little bit longer than usual because as I was writing my book proposal, my dad was sick and then he had leukemia. And then my dad passed away right in the midst of me writing it. And I put it down for a little while and then came back to it. And it was kind of funny how, the world works, is that I came back to this proposal and I said, to the person who I had hired to help me figure out how to write a proposal. I told her, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. It was maybe 10 months after my dad had passed away. And about a month and a half later, my mom passed away very
Oh my
suddenly. So it was
gosh.
like, geez, ew, we just couldn't get back on our feet. So
Yeah.
it just took a long, long time. From there, my story is pretty quick in terms of a book, because I got an agent right away. And then
Nice.
my book proposal got picked up by a big five publisher right away.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's
so that part
amazing.
was fast.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Timing,
Yeah.
that timing sounds like it was probably meant to be
Mm.
right exactly where it fell. That's really
Hmm.
cool. So, what started the idea for your business? Have you always been doing this, or what was the background that led you to serving online business owners in this way?
Yeah, so I definitely had an entrepreneurial spirit as a child. I was always starting little businesses here and there, and I loved all things marketing. I was actually obsessed with infomercials as a kid,
Oh,
not
really?
because of the products themselves, but because I noticed very early on there was a pattern,
Huh.
which I now know as problem, agitate, and solution. And I see how they explain transformational benefits and they work through objections. I just
Mm-hmm.
was picking up on this from a young age, but I went on to become a corporate lawyer. I didn't really even think twice, honestly, about starting my own business. And then as I was practicing as an attorney, I really did not like it and I wanted to leave and try something different. And so I actually at that time decided to leave and start a health coaching company because I wanted like something totally different. I really love to cook, so I wanted to teach people how to cook and just like chase my passion. I think
Mhm.
what I see a lot of entrepreneurs do now is just like they go from kind of a miserable corporate career or some career that they didn't like to being like, I love this hobby, so let me make that hobby my business.
Mhm.
For me, that was a mistake, but it was a really, really helpful lesson. And I write about that a lot in my book. And as I was trying to get this like fledgling health coaching business off the ground, is when I had the idea back in 2016 for a legal templates business, a business that helped people get the legal stuff in order for their online businesses. And so I actually shut down my health coaching business and started that legal templates business in early 2017.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's really cool. Did you have people that were reaching out to you or friends that knew you had this skill set? Or was there, from like a market standpoint, some way that you knew outside of just yourself that there's a need here?
Yeah, the initial catalyst was that even though I was not offering any services, like legal services,
Yeah.
I didn't sell any legal products. To your point, like people would not stop asking me about it because they would hear in my story, like that I used to be a lawyer. And especially back in, 2016 or even like 2015, when I was kind of getting my feet wet and posting on social media, people would be like, wait, a lawyer who wants to be a health coach? So, like, surely you must know like what's an LLC and like what do I need to do first? And I would just be like, oh,
Like,
okay, here's this information. Like I don't want to do this. And like
yeah.
I felt that rebellious like teenager part of me that was like, I'm not, guys, I'm not this thing anymore. Like stop
Mhm.
identifying me because I'm trying not to.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really stop it. And then plus, as you mentioned, I think at the same time the businesswoman in me was a little like my curiosity was piqued because I did see this like gigantic hole in the market. And so the more I got to know the coaching industry and social media and creating content and seeing all the legal issues within it, I was like, oh, actually, this is a really cool opportunity for me to marry my educational and professional experience. And then now, my experience that I've gotten trying to do coaching myself. And so I know what you all are trying to do in your online businesses. Plus, I have the lawyer thing. So I rolled that into one and started this business.
Yeah, that's smart. So where was uh your other business though initially? Were you doing well with it? Were you feeling frustrated at any point? Like was there a crossroads where you're like, this isn't actually as fun as I thought it would be?
Yeah, it was okay. Like I did really well with the networking part of it because in my local community, it's actually something I feel like it's come very full circle for me is something I've been telling my bundle customers a lot lately is to market their online businesses in person,
Mhm.
and don't give up on that community aspect or in-person connection and all of that, especially with what's kind of going on in the world and the economy. So it's great to like get out there and get involved and meet real people, even if you provide the services online.
Yep.
So I did okay in my health coaching business because of that, because I leaned on people I knew in real life, but then provided services virtually. Um, and so it was okay. But like you said, I just did not feel connected to the work at all. That's when I had my first big moment because I thought, okay, I left the law. I made this huge life pivot. And I kind of naively thought this will be my last life pivot, right? Because I made this giant pivot from being a lawyer to a health coach. And it was that moment when I realized, like, oh no, I don't think this is it either. Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, that really scared me because at first I wasn't sure what I was going to do next.
Yeah. So for your business today, as you got it kicked off and started, was there a certain point when you were like, "Oh, I think like I've definitely landed on something here and this is going to work?"
Yeah, I would say honestly within the first few weeks, because within getting my website up and running, this is such a time difference, I think, but because I focus so heavily on SEO
Mhm.
and optimizing my website for search traffic, I was making sales to random people nearly right
Wow.
away who were landing on my site, and the stuff I was doing had worked. So there was that. I also just saw a huge difference in, instead of almost trying to convince people to purchase a service or a package, all of a sudden people were emailing me with questions like, I'm starting X kind of business. Which contract do I need? And then I would send them a link to the template, my template shop, and to that actual contract that they needed, and then they purchased it. Like, it was just kind of as simple as that.
Yeah.
It was just a lot different in that, like, hey, I need this thing. Okay, here's this thing, purchase. And I definitely saw that opportunity early on of like, oh, okay, this is going to be a little, it's actually more about educating people on like what they need, because a lot of times people in the legal realm, they're not sure, they might be starting a business or have a certain concern in their business or offering a certain service, but they don't know what legal things. So that's kind of, I started to see myself as like, oh, I'm kind of illuminating, like, you know what the problem is, and I'm going to illuminate the solution for you. And that's really how I make a sale.
Yeah. Was there your product like suite or your product offering, we'll call it, is it the same today as it was back then, or how has that evolved at all? And what's that looked like?
Essentially, it's the same. So I sold individual legal templates, like downloadable contracts and website policies that I still sell today. Obviously, they've been updated, but like
Mhm.
the same, rough idea. And then about less than a year in to creating my business, I started what would ultimately become my big product, the Ultimate Bundle, which packages together now 14 of the legal templates with trainings and support from me. So that even was born out of those initial legal contracts that I had created, and then realizing people needed more than one. I needed to create a more economical solution, but there also needed to be trainings. There was stuff that I needed to offer and to teach people that was beyond just what you could read in a contract document. Plus, people were wanting support. And
Mhm.
so that's really what led to me creating that product, which would ultimately become my bread and butter. And that's all I sell today, the legal templates and the Ultimate Bundle.
Yeah. So what is the time for like listeners who just don't have really a concept of
Yeah.
what it looks like to create those trainings and the courses and that sort of thing? What is that from like a back end standpoint? Like, can you paint the picture of like what that sort of effort takes?
Yeah, so I write about this a lot in my book. When I start my business, I'll be happy, because this is a place where a lot of people can get tripped up because they will try to create the ultimate best course that also is like doubles as an encyclopedia,
Yeah.
and for their topic. And so it's natural to get caught up in that period. But what I actually recommend and what I did was creating what we call the MVP, so the most viable product that you can get out there. And so creating something that's like just enough, kind of, however you'd like to think of it, like whether it's the skeleton or the outline, the starting point that you'd like to create let's say if it was a course, for example, or a membership or something like this, to even get the kind of the foundation of it and the basics of it built out, and then get some beta testers in there to see what they think. So I did that first, and that ultimately saved me a lot of time, because I was going to go in a very different direction than what the beta testers
Mm,
gave me feedback.
interesting.
I, for example, thought that the video trainings were like the most valuable thing, and that's not what people saw it as. I also got feedback from them on, they needed them to be shorter and more specific to a specific topic, not like a 101 1 hour long class or something like that.
Mhm.
So it really, saved me a lot of time in the end, making sure that I was listening to the feedback. But I think regardless of how you do it, it is definitely a head down time period in your business. And it's really important that you do those head down times in your business, even as you grow. But it's worth it to put your head down, get the basics, kind of creative, film a set of videos, do the audio, do whatever you have to do. Don't waste a lot of time and money on all the fancy branding and website stuff and tech and all of that yet. And then get a couple of people in it.
Yeah, prove it out first with that
Yeah.
MVP. Cool. Have you had employees, or is there some time when you've decided like, okay, it's time to expand. I can't manage this on my own. And from your background, when did those transitions happen?
Yeah, so I have a full-time employee, and I also have a team of contractors that are here quite a bit. And so the very first person I hired was Leanne, who's still with me today, like 6 years ago. And so she came on as my customer service assistant and my VA at the time. So she was doubling up. We didn't have nearly as many customers as now.
Mhm.
So
She
that
could
was
do
my
both.
first hire. Yeah, exactly. So I needed somebody in my inbox and helping customers more so on the like, I can't find this link or I can't log in, this thing's not downloading. So I got her on board right away. And then, like I said, now have expanded to a full time employee and a team.
Yeah, she's busy. I mean, so for any listeners, I have purchased the Ultimate Bundle and it's been wildly helpful. So, any other business owners who feel like they need that support or just like it has just taken a weight off of like, there's going to, when I want to cross a bridge, more than likely it's already in there and I'm going to be able to get the tools to do that myself. But uh, she's busy because there's a lot of activity that goes on. I'm amazed at how how much she has going on. You can just see it. Like it speaks to the community that you've built because it's active and people are taking advantage of the tools you've provided.
Yeah, I'm always surprised it is as well. So when people purchase, so everyone knows when people purchase the Ultimate Bundle, you get access to this like private community. And yeah, I guess I thought Facebook groups were dead, but apparently not this one. It's very, very much alive.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So, did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? It sounds like you had a thing to recognize these marketing efforts through infomercials, but have you, or did you always have a dream of being an attorney? What was your childhood like from that standpoint?
Yeah, so I think unfortunately, I always, even though I was an entrepreneur at heart, I never for some reason thought of it as my path. But I think because I did have such a traumatic upbringing, I had a really rough home life and very unsafe, like unstable home, that I just more than anything yearned for stability
Hmm.
and like quietness and calm and anything that was other than where I grew up. And so I don't know why, but for some reason in my mind, I thought being a lawyer was the fastest path to that. And that, I saw it as like a safe job and it's serious. And so, like, people will take me seriously and I'll probably always have a job and stability and money coming in. And so, I think that's how I thought of it. My happiness, my passions, they were never part of the equation.
That's amazing. Wow. It makes a ton of sense though.
Hmm.
And given just your journey in total, it makes a ton of sense. So, as you've gone across or through this time of starting your business and it growing into a really successful a successful one, what have been some of the most unexpected challenges or a unexpected challenge across this journey that you've experienced?
I would say that, learning how to separate your identity or even just build your own identity outside of your business has been one of the greatest challenges, but also probably the greatest gift that has come from my business. It's something too that I think like if I had listened to this when I was first starting my business, I would have thought like, well, I don't need to separate my identity from my business. Like my business is nothing, right? And I
Mhm.
included some quote from Trevor Noah in my book that's if you live by the good numbers, then you have to die by the bad numbers. And it really speaks to what I feel about this, which is that like you have to start working on your identity and separating your identity from your business, regardless of what the numbers are telling you. If you have 4 followers or you've made $40 or whatever, it's not something you start doing once you're rich or you have tons of followers or something like that. So because if as you're going along, if things don't work out, if something is challenging, a launch doesn't go great, a product flops that you thought was going to do really well, somebody makes a really mean comment on social media or sends you a mean email, that's when it's important to have those strong foundations of yourself and knowing I am not my business, I am not my revenue, whether my revenue is high or low.
Mhm.
And so I just think that it was like a lot around that as I was growing because as mine grew pretty quickly, it was easy to start being like, this is really cool. And I kind of became one with the business,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
not, it's not healthy and I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be hard. Like
Yeah.
you're also trying to keep up in a
Yeah.
sense of like this momentum and keeping that moving. That would be hard not to get sucked into that.
Yeah, for sure.
For the next year, what are some of your goals for the business?
So I'm actually hoping to take most of this summer pretty light on my end. Part of what works so well about my business is it's kind of a simple, well-oiled machine. I
Yeah,
sell two things and I have one funnel that leads to those. And I have a really healthy sized email list. I have 47,000 people on my email list. So I really want to focus on the basics when it comes to business. I have a really good newsletter every Tuesday that goes out called Sam's Sidebar. If anybody wants to get that, it's free, of course. And then do my one podcast on my podcast on your terms once a week, and really just kind of like focus on these two cornerstone pieces of content. And in my business, getting out there and I have some speaking engagements that I'm really excited about. I'm speaking at
cool.
Craft and Commerce for Kit this summer, and I have another one in July at a conference. So I'm just looking forward to, I don't know, some of the kind of like 30,000 foot view stuff.
Yeah.
Just zooming out a little bit because I've been in
Hmm.
the weeds with having written my book and everything.
Awesome. Can you tell me more about your book? And is it out yet?
Yes, it came out
Okay,
April
that's what I thought.
15th.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about your book.
Yeah, so my book, When I Start My Business, I'll Be Happy, is a book about how to build and start a successful online business, whatever that means to you. One of the core central messages of the book is for you to define that for yourself and not to let social media or any other person, really tell you what kind of business you should have. But it's also for the person who maybe has been through a lot in their life or is currently going through something in their life and needs their business to run a little bit smoother. They need some spaciousness. They need some more automation in their business. And so the idea for my book was really born out of, when my dad got leukemia and I was his caregiver. I couldn't be on social media every day. I couldn't be creating new content every day. I needed to slow down but make more because I
Hmm.
needed to actually now pay for him and everything that was going on for him. So that's really the system, essentially the marketing system, my strategies that I teach you in the book, and it's available wherever books are sold.
Awesome. That is great. So, what's one decision you made early on that has had a major impact on your business's success?
To focus on searchability regardless of where I'm posting content. So whether that's creating something for my website or recording a podcast episode on your terms or even creating something on Instagram, I'm always thinking about what tools essentially on the back end are available to me to make this more optimized, more searchable. Obviously it's for my site, then more SEO optimized and more search friendly. Yeah, that was something that I think I did literally from day zero. And looking back on it, I always say to people that it's like I was depositing 10 cents at a time and really not thinking like, well, it's not really gonna build up very much if you just save 10 cents a day, but then one day you look back and you're like, wow, I've actually saved a lot. And then with compounding interest, it's added up. And so, I'm consistently getting leads from
Hmm.
places or from content that I've created over the past 8 years.
Yeah, yeah. So, when you kind of alluded to this earlier, that like 2017, the internet has kind of changed, and like how you can captivate an audience or how you go viral might have changed. What do you think? Like, would your strategy change if you were starting today? Would your strategy on getting started, would that have looked different?
Yeah, I would have built a what I call big three strategy earlier on. So I consider the big three to be YouTube, podcast, and SEO optimized blog posts.
Yeah.
I think nowadays you could probably also include Substack. That could be the fourth
Mm,
one
good
because
point.
it's so searchable and you can build an audience there and your list is exportable, which I really like. So that might be no, it might be the big four, but I would have started that from the get go and really just focused on one and not focused so much on like let's say you started on YouTube, your first however many dozens, hundreds, I don't know, might have very few views, might have very, very few, if any, comments. Like, I wouldn't expect traction. If I could go back and like just download like a message to myself, I would say just go and start there, play with it, find your audience, like find your voice there, play with your editing style, be uniquely yourself, but build an audience off of something that's like more of a cornerstone piece of content place, like YouTube, like your podcast. And then take little snippets, whether it's an actual snippet like a video or audio, and post that on social media, or just go over to social and talk about that topic, but then drive people to the main cornerstone piece of content. I just really would have focused on that much earlier. I always admire personally like people who I find on YouTube or something who have so many subscribers on YouTube, and you go and click on their Instagram profile and they have like 500 followers or 1,000 followers or something like that. I'm like, but it jokes on us because they
Yeah.
have this huge flow of consistent leads going on over on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Sorry for any
Absolutely.
cat
Yeah.
people, but
Yeah.
it's really like, yeah, there's a lot of different avenues. That's really helpful and hopefully
Yeah.
helpful for others as well. So, what's been one of the most rewarding aspects of your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say getting to meet people like you who are in the bundle, and people who, reach out every day and say that this work has impacted them in some way. I always feel a little bit like a business doula because I feel like I get to like help people birth businesses, and it's kind
Yeah.
of cool to like, not that I'm on the same journey as everybody else, but I do feel a little like, yeah, go guys,
Yay.
because
Hmm.
I'm behind the scenes just seeing people. Oftentimes the legal side for my people can be like the spark that they needed or the thing that was holding them back from moving forward. So it's really cool to get to see. And then I feel like I now get to watch this like really nice ripple effect where you all go out and create these incredible businesses that then help other people. And so it just gets to continue on.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. So, is there anybody that you work with today or that you're kind of watching work from the outside looking in that you really admire?
Oh, I love my mindset coach Jennifer Diaz. I recommend everybody go
Oh, cool.
and follow her, and especially get her weekly newsletter. It's really good. But I just really admire her as well because I mean, not only because she has, I think, like a really healthy head on her shoulders. She has a good balance with her family, her husband Eric, her son Cal. Like she just has a really, I don't know, nice way about her in terms of, she's a nice antidote to someone like me who can be very like business strategy,
Yeah.
business, let's go, and she's like slow and beautiful and artistic and like, and still does great because she does such good work. That first of all, she gets incredible word of mouth because people like me are on podcasts talking about her because I feel passionately about her.
Hmm.
But also, she does good work with her actual clients so that then they refer people to her. And then her content itself too is like art. I just think she's a beautiful writer, and I love that she's probably what I could use a dose of is just taking things a little slower and more methodically.
Yeah, I'm gonna look her up after this. That's
Oh, she's
great.
great. You'll
I'm
love her.
excited. I
Yeah.
feel like I need a little bit of that too. Of who would be that person for like the I feel like as a business owner, the anxiety, the pressure. You're like, am I doing any of this right? Like, am I going about this right way? And
Mm,
just getting out of it's hard to like get out of your own way sometimes. When you're like, okay, I can pump the brakes, reflect a little bit, and we're doing just fine.
yeah, absolutely.
So, what would you tell your younger self today if you were looking at her and you had any advice to give her? This is like young Sam, pre attorney Sam, or maybe law school Sam. What would you tell her?
Oh boy, I would have said to just enjoy it because I think it was at that time that I was starting to be like, oh, I don't think this is for me either. But I
Hmm.
felt very committed to having to go down the path. I mean, I had spent multiple
Yeah.
six figures on student loans and everything else
Yeah.
in many years, in school. But I wish I knew then that I think I really believe this, that like everything you experience, every hardship you go through, every, I don't know, obstacle you've had to overcome will be some sort of educational lesson that will help in the long run. And so it's really those tough times, even like knowing how badly I struggled as an attorney and how sad and like distraught I was over my job, my career. I It's such a fuel for me now, this many years later, and I really thought this feeling would wear off, but it hasn't. And so I'm
Amazing.
really grateful that I went through such a tough time as an attorney because it makes everything I do now just seem like such a joy and such a pleasure. And I'm so grateful for what I get to do.
That's neat. So, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
Mm. I wish I knew that I should trust my gut and my intuition more and not look to what other people thought, or even for other people's like feedback and approval so often.
Yeah, that's great advice. We all need that for sure. Well, thank you, Sam, for your time today. It has been wonderful getting to know you and to hear your story. I loved the pleasure of being able to actually face to face thank you for what you do because it's been so helpful to me. And there's so much in there that I haven't even scratched the surface on. I have a lot of, don't look at like my percentage completed. Please
Well,
don't, because there's a lot for me to do, but there is, it'll be a resource I can use for a long time. And I'm excited that I have it. It's a breath of fresh air, a huge weight off my shoulders. So thank you for what you do. I am really grateful.
thanks, Courtney. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I hope you found inspiration and insights to fuel your entrepreneurial journey. If you're looking for support in building or scaling your business profitably, visit my website or send me an email to learn more about how I help mission-driven businesses become more profitable, proactive, and efficient. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps other entrepreneurs discover the show, and it would mean so much to me as well. Until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep going.